After years of public demos, I was left a little confused as to just what kind of a game The Division was. Was it a full-blown RPG, a post-epidemic tactical shooter, or a straight-up PvP meat grinder? After spending a few hands-on hours with it just weeks before its March release, I realized that it manages to be all of these things simultaneously, and it's looking like it might be exactly what I was hoping for. As a shooter, it performs more than admirably. Its combat mechanics control well, and the enemy AI is adaptable enough that you don't always feel like you're constantly replaying the same firefight as your opponents suppress, flank, and advance on your team. Enemies don't go down with a single headshot, which takes some getting used to, but I was okay with it because it presented a more challenging experience for a three-man fire team and made for a constant reminder of the game's RPG DNA. The Division employs your standard arsenal of military-grade weaponry, from SMGs and assault rifles to machine guns and a variety of grenades, and both weapon attachments and armor upgrades can be obtained by looting enemies, bartering with vendors, or crafted using materials recovered from scrapped items. In addition to all this traditional military hardware is some very cool pseudo-futuristic tech that gives each agent of the Division a specialized set of abilities. You might choose to send out a pulse that temporarily marks enemies and buffs your damage, or maybe carry a riot shield to deflect bullets, or equip a seeker grenade to home in on your enemies. All of this sci-fi tech is unlocked via RPG-style skill trees, and while you can certainly choose one path and stick with it, you're also free to respec your character at any time. This way, you don't need to worry about playing through the first 10 hours as a medic, only to realize that you should have been playing as a scout. So long as you've managed to rebuild enough of your base of operations, basically the command center where you'll manage your campaign to clean up New York, you can switch between any abilities you've unlocked at any time. This was especially helpful when we jumped ahead into a late-game mission where it seemed that every enemy we ran into was a formidable threat that required unique tactics to defeat. The most dangerous foes we squared off against, however, weren't AI-controlled vandals or looters, they were other Division agents, hunting for the most valuable loot inside the city's still contaminated Dark Zone. The Dark Zone is the Division's PvP-enabled arena, but instead of immediately being forced to attack anyone you run into, everyone in the Dark Zone, except for the errant NPC Patrol, starts off as friendly. However, players are also far more likely to come across rare loot in the DZ, and unlike the rest of the game world, it isn't instant, meaning that there's only one, and whoever successfully manages to extract the item claims the reward. This makes attacking your fellow agents, going rogue as it's called, a much more appealing prospect. Unfortunately, going rogue sorta happens at the drop of a hat. Inflict the tiniest bit of damage on a team member or another player, whether it's intentional or not, and the intercom will crackle a warning and the bullets will start flying your way. And it's not just you becoming public enemy number one either, it's your whole group if you're playing with friends. Thankfully, the amount of time that you spend as an enemy of the state is determined by just how violent your actions were. Accidentally wing a nearby teammate and you'll only be on the hit list for a few seconds. But find a vantage point and start mowing down other players? Eventually, you'll become so notorious that a bounty is placed on you, and every agent operating in the DZ will receive a mission to bring you down. But once you exit the Dark Zone, all is forgiven, and you're free to resume the Herculean task of rebuilding New York. We played through a few main story missions during our demo, and each one ran between about a half an hour and an hour. Plus, there seemed to be no shortage of side missions, safe houses, and supply runs dotting the portion of the map that we had explored. There's a great deal of environmental storytelling at play here too, not just through collectible AV logs or the holographic echo sequences that provide a glimpse into the past, but in every abandoned shelter, street, and back alley of the city as well. And I've got to mention, aside from the occasional mistake leading to my death, once I booted up the game for the first time, I never saw another loading screen. Anywhere. The Division was every bit as engaging as I had hoped it would be, and I'm eager to see what the full experience ends up being. With only a few weeks left until launch, it's unlikely that much of what we saw will change, and that's A-OK by me. For more on The Division, stick around on IGN.
The civilians have been secured.
Thank you so much. Those people are crazy.